pretty well. I probably would like to get a little bit more gray tone in some of these areas. There is some, it's like here's black and here's white, and there's not much going on between. This side over here doesn't seem to be balanced out the same. This one is heavier than that one. Am I right? You know, and so I don't know. The individual may talk or something like that and say, well, that side is the way I envisioned it or something like that, or is it done? You know, back to the client, someone looking at your work, you might have question marks in someone's mind, or you might leave question marks in the individual's mind that's looking at your things. This is quite nice. Seems like there's enough call-outs there to make anyone happy. Probably, if anything, the middle value grays could go a little further with it, possible. Nicer paper too. Something else, I don't think I said it before, but sometimes picking different kinds of paper, board or something like that, because the tactile quality of it or the tone of it is helpful, or manufacturing it. You know, that could be important. The material on which you work. You know, and these are things that I'm just making points to. And then I'm hoping that you know, because I'm not trying to berate anyone or whatever. I'm not trying to you know. I want you to just know absolutely everything I can give you information-wise on what we have up here and what the possibilities might be. Sometimes the paper that we get in our pads is not the best. This is 80-pound paper. And 80-pound paper is better than, I'm willing to bet, 65-pound paper. It's just sturdier material. It allows maybe better erasing. We used to sell a pad downstairs with like 55-pound paper, and it was a little bit like tracing paper. You know, one problem, if you drew on one side of the paper page, you drew on the other side, you'd see through it, and it's kind of cheesy. So sometimes for project assignments, going out and just getting a separate piece of paper of some kind can be helpful. Congratulations. This is one of the few classes, large classes I've seen, where all of you are working on a fairly large scale. You know, I have gotten a few people that have done assignments on, you know, they haven't read the assignment sheet very well, and they've gone and given me something on a piece of paper this big. You know, and that doesn't quite hold as much power as some of these others that are on a larger scale. Me, I like to work on a larger scale just so I can make my mistakes at least bigger. You know, I can see the problems better and maybe alter them. The other thing is when you work on a larger scale and eventually we reduce it down to something that's going to go on a printout or a leave behind, what happens to it?
Quality.
What's that again?
The quality lessens when you shrink it down. What does that mean?
That's what I'm talking about, but actually you've got 180 degrees out. Quite often when you have something this big and you shrink it down, it sharpens up.
Yeah.
Okay, so it actually will get better. The famous pieces by some of the turn-of-the-century illustrators whose work I greatly admire, you see some of the originals and you find out they were published in books this big, but the original paintings are this big. You know, and they just, you know, and there's a lot of abstract art going on when you find it, when you look at the originals. You see just shapes in the background, and you see all kinds of wonderful, you know, just bizarre, blurry stuff going on in the original paintings. And of course, when you see it in the book, oh, it looks really good, because it reduced down and shrinks up and gets better contrast and all those things. And so very often, I like working larger scales so that if it does get smaller, well, it just looks better. Publishing, you know, I've done a lot of book covers, magazine covers, things like that. And that was a good trick. You could be a bit more of a painter. And then people would even look at it and go, wow, look at all the detail here, man. And there's none. I'm faking it. You know, just because I worked on a larger scale, it looked like I put a lot of detail. The other happens too sometimes. I work my butt off on certain areas and put great detail in it. And because of the shrink down process and because of the printing process as we know it, it gets all lost. And so a lot of effort doesn't happen either, or doesn't show up. That's one of the other problems. And that's one of the reasons I'm talking about larger contrast and things like that, is because when you digitize it, when you scan it, what goes on is sometimes some of the details you have put in will get lost. You're one generation away, 2 generations away. You know, put it on the web, it's 72 DPI, you know, and only this big or something like that. You're 3 or 4 generations away. Every generation's gonna lose a little bit. Digitally, if it's on screen, of course, the screen resolution has a lot to do with that. You're gonna have something that may be a little bit better than the paper printing, publishing problems.